कि मतलब लाइफ को जबरदस्ती डिफिकल्ट करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है और डिफिकल्टी में वैल्यू ढूंढने की कोई जरूरत नहीं।
They don't care if this painting doesn't turn out well. They don't care. You do. Paint ही तो है, इसमें थोड़ी sexist बन सकते हो तुम।
कह रही है जूता नहीं पहन रखा मैंने निकाल के मारने के लिए।
Why do you have to be so good at it to do something? That applies to everything.
वाह भाई बहुत गहरी बात कर गई।
We've been taught to make it everything so difficult.
मेरा शो है, डर के रहो सारे लोग।
मैं थोड़ी डांट रही यार।
शाबाश से नहीं, डांट कास्ट नहीं, डेट कास्ट तो खाई नहीं करती है।
पूछो और मुझे सवाल।
मेरे को तो समझ ही नहीं आ रहा why are my words short today? Like I cannot. Sakshi does some extremely interesting kind of art that you can see everywhere around here. It's very trippy, it's very psychedelic, and I wanted to figure out how she does it. So here we are on a Datecast with Sakshi Lunkad.
Hi.
गाइस एक पॉडकास्ट आईपी को बनाने में बहुत रिसर्च लगती है फ्रॉम द कॉन्सेप्ट टू द फाइनल प्रोडक्ट मी एंड माई टीम वी हैव टू वर्क टुगेदर टेक्स्ट वी हैव टू वर्क टुगेदर आर्टिकल्स वी हैव टू वर्क टुगेदर पिक्चर्स एंड अ सॉफ्टवेयर लाइक PDF Element by Wondershare helps us a lot. PDF Element is an easy PDF solution for all your needs. It's fast, it's affordable, it's an easy way to edit, convert, sign PDFs and more across desktop, mobile and web. तुम किसी भी डिपार्टमेंट में काम कर रहे हो, चाहे वो ह्यूमन रिसोर्स हो, चाहे वो मार्केटिंग हो, सेल्स हो या लीगल हो, दिस सॉफ्टवेयर विल मेक योर लाइफ सो ईजी. तुम किसी भी फॉर्मेट के डॉक्यूमेंट को किसी भी फॉर्मेट में ईजिली कन्वर्ट कर सकते हो, जैसे PDF टू वर्ड या PDF टू एक्सेल या वर्ड टू PDF, बेसिकली एवरीथिंग. You can use PDF Element to read all the research papers, make notes on them, make your scripts, and even do your personal and professional work on the same software. If you want to check it out, all other details and links are in the description of this episode. With that, please enjoy this fantastic episode with Sakshi Lunkad.
I already have these.
Shit, dude, it's fucking. How great is this? ये पिछली बार था यहाँ, ये तूने अभी बनाया ना?
हाँ यही तो मैं बोल रही थी
हाँ,
सूखेगा तो
जैसे ना विनम्र भी ना उसके घर वर जाओ, विनम्र हैज दीस पोस्टर्स लेड आउट, उसके शूट्स में भी दिखेगा तुम्हें, यू नो, एंड ही वुड ऑलवेज वॉक इनटू माय रूम, बोला क्या कचरा कमरा है साले, तेरा कुछ करता नहीं है, तू एस्थेटिकली दिस दैट, एंड आई विल लाइक ब्रो, मेरे को ना अकल ही नहीं है इन चीजों के बारे में, मेरे को पता ही नहीं है मैं क्या करूं, व्हाट रिप्रेजेंट्स मी आर्टिस्टिकली, समथिंग आई हैव नेवर नोन, एंड दैट इज प्रोबेबली व्हाई दिस इज सो इंटरेस्टिंग फॉर मी राइट नाउ, इज बिकॉज फर्स्ट ऑफ अ काइंड.
okay.
Okay.
I think we're ready.
Okay.
So usually how I do my workshops is also I sort of start. I will do little bit, show you how to go about it,
Okay.
and then want you to do your own thing.
Okay.
Let's do that.
100%. You lead.
देख अब इसमें obviously there are like gazillion techniques.
ठीक है.
ठीक है. मैं जो usually workshop में भी करती हूँ ना, अब मुझे बता तो तुझे easy टाइप में जाना है, तुझे थोड़ा मस्ती करनी है.
Before I answer that question,
I mean, I already knew. Before I asked, I knew the answer. But then I was like,
सब डबल मीनिंग है यहाँ पे, कुछ भी सिंगल
oh
मीनिंग नहीं है यहाँ
shit,
पे.
मैंने सोचा ही नहीं double meaning.
प्लीज मैं तो सोचना ही भूल गई. नहीं मेरा पॉइंट ये इसके उससे माइक से मफल्ड आवाज तो नहीं आ रही ना, बिकॉज हर थिंग इज या इट्स ऑल कूल राइट. ओके. I want to do something a little more challenging than just like I want to really try
None of this is
self-expressing.
challenging.
हाँ.
So that's not the point of this.
मेरे को एक्चुअली एक्सप्रेस करने का है आर्टिस्टिकली.
Actually, हाँ. मैं तेरे को सिर्फ दिखा रही हूँ क्या करना है.
ठीक.
उसको you do it in your own way, in your own
ठीक.
sense, जैसे भी तेरे को समझ आता है. ठीक है. एक टेक्निक होता है फ्लिप कप.
अच्छा.
ठीक है, जो मैं शुरू कर रही हूँ. Starting with white doesn't again anything and everything that I do. You don't have to.
Okay.
Okay, you have to do your own thing.
That's a beautiful orange.
It's like a neonish.
This is the kind of shit you see in the Brooklyn parties that we go to, no?
Yeah.
नशे नुशे करने के बाद सब लोग डिचिक पे इन्हीं कलर्स पे बज रहे होते हैं. देखा है ऐश, एक बार तेरे को लेके गया था मैं. एक हमें ना टीम आउटिंग भी करनी चाहिए. We should do one of these gigs before I have to go to India or one of us gets busy. The four of us, we should do it.
Fine, thanks for inviting. Yeah, how sweet of you.
Bro, ये तो थप्पड़ मारी, तू खुद नहीं जा रही वापस इंडिया, उल्टा डांट रही है मेरे को. तेरे को चलना है, तू भी चल.
तू थैंक्स. मैं पिटी इनवाइट नहीं चाहिए मुझे.
मैं पिटी इनवाइट नहीं दे रहा तेरे को, ठीक है? मेरे को लगा तू जा रही है यार, इसलिए मैंने नहीं पूछा. मैं तो
जा
वैसे
रही हूँ. नहीं जाना चाहती तो.
बेइज्जती कर रही है.
यार पेट कम है.
हाँ.
कम बनाया मैंने पेंट, बट चल ठीक है.
चल.
Okay,
Flip cup.
flip cup. 3, 2, 1. It's very last paint. It's fine. Basically flip cup करा. Already हो चुका है.
Oh shit.
Then you're just gonna, after this spreads, it's gonna look like that marble effect. Okay. Sick. Now that orange is sick. Okay, thanks.
So, now, welcome. Now that we're officially through with this,
Yes.
I have so many questions.
Go for it.
The thing is, जब मैं generally, like I found when my hands are occupied, I cannot focus as well on thinking and articulating. In fact, मेरे लिए बात करते हुए eye contact बनाना भी, when I'm thinking particularly, I have to look in my mind's eye and not anywhere in particular,
Yeah.
right? So what you were saying had me baffled on so many levels. Because this is quite literally the first time I've received advice to not care. And so I'll tell you the things that you mentioned, right? Ek to, it does not have to be difficult.
Yeah.
Which is life altering if you think of it in the sense of your life as a whole
Yeah.
and so on. The other, perfection is a non-existent thing here.
Correct.
The third is chance. You are letting sort of chance, motion, gravity, right? That take shape. And finally, the fact that you are so cognizant of this, right? कि ये तीनों चारों processes हैं, ये इतने spread out और इतने out of my control हैं, and you're completely fine letting this make art as beautiful as this. I'm sure that does something to a person. Do you, like no planning for instance,
Yes.
do you find yourself, since you started doing this more professionally, more frequently,
Yeah.
to be more laid back in life? Has art informed life backwards or has only life informed the art?
Wow. डाल दिया मुझे चक्कर में. No, I feel like what this has done is given me a purpose. I know it's a very cliche thing to say, but like I keep running back to this. But then I started asking myself these questions, what you're asking me, right? Why am I running back to this? Why am I not going back to my interior job? Why am I not doing what I actually thought I would do?
Which is a traditional career in interior designing, right?
The कुछ तो पढ़ाई,
Right.
डिग्री तो होनी चाहिए ना. डिग्री के बिना क्या होगा
बेटा
आपका?
ऐसे फिर रिश्ते कैसे आएंगे?
फिर कैसे होगा
हाँ,
तुम्हारा?
हाँ.
तो तुम like you will not believe मैं न्यूयॉर्क थी ना, मैं बताया था पाँच साल पहले भी. उसके बाद इतना सीखा वीखा, आर्ट करा, सब पढ़ाई की. I went back home and started looking for jobs for
Again.
interiors. क्योंकि करोगे क्या फिर आर्ट का? Anyway, coming back to your question, it does bring me back because this feeling that I was chasing, right? मैं अगर न्यूयॉर्क का एक्सपीरियंस बताऊँ, ये जो 3 महीने that I'm here, I literally 5 days a week, maybe like 4 days a week, I'm in the studio. But those 4 days in the week that I'm in the studio, I'm not non-existent. मैं हूँ ही नहीं. ये है और मैं हूँ, and that's it. This is the feeling I was chasing. Nothing else. I've tried a lot of things. Nothing else gives me this satisfaction of like going internally.
Right.
I think.
It's have you heard of flow states?
No.
Have you ever come across this term?
No.
So there was I think, a Eastern European, if my guess is not wrong, a Polish psychologist in the 60s called Mikhail Szymanski. I cannot say his last name or spell it for the life of me. He came up with this idea that एक तो हमारा normal state of being है, उसमें एक range of emotions है. He says there is an alternate state of consciousness called a flow state.
Okay.
And he described flow state with 4 key pillars. There is, it's called STER, I think. Selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and R, I cannot remember what it is. If somebody can look up flow states, STER, guys, right? And what he said was that very often what happens is we get engaged in activities where we flip into this alternate state of consciousness and we experience this STER, selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and so on. And that is probably the most productive, the most fulfilling state that we can chase. And I came across this because I used to and still kind of read a lot about all of this stuff. And that is when I decided that I've experienced that and I'm going to chase this myself. So a lot of it for me comes in writing and speaking.
Correct.
Right? And I feel like the world doesn't exist, it doesn't have to exist. I'm very satisfied in where I'm at right now.
Exactly.
And I wonder if that is a good approach to life. Like if that is what people should inherently be chasing instead of happiness or whatever.
I was about to say this. I was like, happiness एक तो इतना overrated बन गया है. ठीक है, अच्छा लगता है जब खुश होते हो तो. But तुम किस चीज से खुश हो रहे हो? कौन सी other feelings? Because there are other feelings also that you have to be okay with. You're not always going to be happy, right?
Right.
So it's like अब तो pressure बन गया है that if you're not happy, chase happiness. ये करो. Great, nice, good motivation and everything. But it's not just the happiness. What if I'm sad and I'm feeling bad that I'm not happy? ये हमने ना Netflix के लिए करा था color therapy. So ये हुआ था 2020 में. And that's when like things really changed for me.
Because?
So 2020 is when I started exploring and putting videos up.
अच्छा.
पहले भी कर रही थी मैं.
हाँ.
But not with that intention.
Right.
But then I was feeling really good क्योंकि घर बैठे थे. क्या करूँ? Like can't work anymore. So I was like, wait, let me experiment. Let me see what else I can do. What I'm doing these 3 months. And then I started with the color therapy. I was like, why am I liking this? Why am I enjoying this? If I'm enjoying it, you'll be enjoying it too, right? We should all enjoy it, you know. That's where it all started from, like, for me. चलो, अब क्या करना है? ये तो था easy. ये भी easy है. तुमको सिर्फ pancakes बनाने हैं.
Alpenlibe की ad याद है? That's the visual memory I have of जो strawberry वाली Alpenlibe आती थी ना.
See, my hand is still. I'm not moving. Just gently. Again, you do not have to do everything that I'm doing. You can move around with it.
And you can just wipe it off like that and it's still art?
Yeah, because we're just gonna... बहुत कम paint है यार. Fuck. I can put my hair back now. बहुत गर्मी है. Okay. बस सुंदर लगनी चाहिए from all angles.
वही नोटिस कर लेना प्लीज सारे है ना. हाँ. बाद में शिकायत ना आए भैया.
चल. Now because I don't have a lot of color with me. प्लान करना तो मेरे को बिल्कुल भी नहीं पसंद. ठीक है? Alright. Now don't be too attached with anything that you have on your canvas.
Dude, it's so philosophical.
If you stop thinking about how pretty it's gonna look, if you stop thinking about what the result is going to be, think about how you're going to enjoy this while you're doing it instead of अच्छा होगा नहीं होगा क्या मैं ठीक से कर रहा हूँ क्या मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ like just stop. हम लोग को think करने की इतनी आदत है. we're thinking like while we're taking a shower. I'm thinking while like constantly thinking. But when I'm in the studio, I don't think. I'm like
You're in flow.
silence में. I literally work hours and hours. I skip time sometimes. In silence I work. Can you imagine? Like I don't know if there is any other activity that I can do and I can feel the same way.
I have found also in my life, कभी भी अगर मैं happiness chase कर रहा होता हूँ ना, I run into these dilemmas, where like it has gotten to sort of a point where like I'm sad now, and if my aim is happiness, I'm nowhere near it, and that adds more anxiety. As opposed to I found, जब purpose कहते हैं ना लोग, oh you need to have a purpose. For the sake of a purpose, I'm happy suffering. I'm happy being through a lifelong situation of pain. If there is some kind of grand narrative that I find value in, that I find expression in,
Yeah.
I'm happy feeling whatever emotion that might come in the way of that. And I've also thus found that if I align purpose and I find flow in it, it is quite literally probably the best combination on a day-to-day level
Yeah.
that I can move forward with.
I agree.
Is this some kind of purpose? ओहो ज़्यादा भारी हो गया सवाल भाई, वापस ले लो.
मतलब, but you were already saying everything that I agree to.
हाँ.
Doing this, the purpose is to chase that feeling. That is for myself. वो सिर्फ मेरे लिए. अगर मैं यहाँ 3 महीने आई हूँ, that's only for me. But I have to go back home. काम करना है, नाम कमाना है, पैसे कमाने हैं, वरना कोई रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करेगा, उसका क्या? So is this an escape from my real life, or can I find this in my real life too?
I think हम लोगों के लिए ना, again, देख, we come from a very weird socio-economic situation in India, where inequality, also known as the Gini coefficient, if you have an economics background, is steep as hell. And so for a large part of the country, what I will say in the next sentence may not apply, right? Which is that मेरा हैक दिमाग में ये था जब मैं अपना करियर स्टार्ट कर रहा था कि क्या मैं ये चीजें अलाइन कर सकता हूँ. Why I set out to do what I do now was to figure out if there is a way to make this also financially sustainable. I was talking to Clau recently about it. I was like, most people when they start a career, they go in need first and then maybe look for purpose.
Correct.
We probably had or at least I had the privilege of going purpose first and then figuring out my needs from there.
True. Again, like I said, I went back. I was looking for a job again because when you say purpose and need, right? That's what we are talking about. Yes, I didn't have the need to do it. मैं काम नहीं भी करूँ I would have been fine. Thankfully. Great. I'm very grateful about that. But that actually pushed me even more कि मेरे को खुद का चाहिए. मुझे जो भी चाहिए खुद का चाहिए. But अब आर्ट में अब खुद का बनाओगे क्या? करोगे क्या? What can you do? You'll have to make paintings and then sell. नहीं बिकी तो क्या करोगे?
True. Agreed.
फिर पापा के पास.
हाँ फिर जाओ फिर भागो. Right.
फिर पापा के again coming from a great family and everything, very supportive also, which is so rare. Especially when I was like, no मुझे art करना है. करो. But then job भी तो करनी पड़ेगी और like खुद का भी कुछ करो.
बिल्कुल.
काम करो.
Of course.
But then maybe because I come from like a business background, my mind also worked like that. I hated any kind of job. मुझे job करनी. I don't want to be an answerable person. Right? Like
you want no responsibility?
No.
Basically. हाँ. जो करना है अपने आप करना है. हाँ.
तो उसके लिए I would have to work double hard.
Right.
You know, just to make sure I have the liberty of wanting to live the way I want to live. Right? उसके लिए, so everybody knows like being an entrepreneur or like having a business is you're working 24/7 instead of like a 9 to 5 job.
Right. Your work hours are not defined when you're setting up your own
Not at
thing.
all.
No.
Literally I have to sleep over sometimes because I'm working.
On that sofa?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, hardworking as fuck. Respect.
Thanks.
मेरे लिए ना जब मैं सोचता हूँ अरे मेरे को अकेले रहना है. Suppose मैं सितंबर का पूरा महीना सड़क पे हूँ. ठीक है? I'm going to be traveling for the entire month. For many days and many nights and many whatever, I'll be by myself completely.
Okay.
And I'm so okay with that because I know I can do something that makes me lose myself.
Yeah.
That could be reading, that could be writing, that could be whatever the way I express my art, right? And I think there is something to be said about this fundamental expression which keeps us company no matter how alone we might be.
So true.
And so much freedom suddenly.
Yeah. I think that's the freedom people are chasing, not anything else. घर पे भी यार मुझे छूट है, ऐसे कुछ है नहीं कि ये मत करो वो मत करो या ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. In fact, they're more supportive. But what I feel when I come here is this, that I'm not answerable to anybody.
Right.
For whatever.
Right.
Good thing, bad thing. I am answerable to myself. Which means I need to work double harder
Right.
to make that work. I'm going to stop here.
This is also things people... Can I begin?
Yes.
Okay.
Your turn.
This is also something that people don't quite understand, and I think talking through doing this might be helpful for me, is that when, and I want to discuss this later on too, right? For us kids, when we were, whatever, 14, 15, I'm assuming I had a certain amount of financial or rather socioeconomic and psychological privilege. I was very like fine where I was. For us, in so many ways, things get very real when we move.
Yes.
Because now, it is not just कि तुम्हारे पे अपना pressure है जीवन में क्या करना है. You have added pressure of things you've left behind.
Yes.
And now you have to work not just double hard. Like my life changed when I got here to Colombia. Because मेरे को पता था अगर मैं यहाँ पे भी, if I'm not putting my 100%, which I was not in CA, then what am I doing in my life? Might as well go back to that rugged life of, हाँ.
Yeah.
And so that was very relieving in ways. कि भाई अब ओहो गड़बड़.
यही तो मैं
अच्छा गड़बड़ नहीं है ये.
brown.
Now I can do whatever, right?
You don't
As I
want
want
you don't want the brown?
Not yet.
Okay, cool. Yes, you can.
I need more cups.
Here you go.
Is there any way in which you can say, if like in your classes also, ठीक है तो किसी को करा रही है and you're like suddenly no don't do it this way, don't do it that way. Is there ever an instruction that comes with this kind of stuff?
I try to not instruct
हाँ.
unless they tell me that they Sakshi, I want it like this, like this, like this.
Right.
Then of course I help them because eventually it's their painting as well.
Right.
I want them to like it, right? They're gonna hang it, look at it every day.
Right.
But usually I suggest them to take it as it comes.
Cups. 2 girls, 1 cup.
Really?
Oh my god. See? Dwelling into his subconscious.
Yeah. There it is.
From 9th grade, something
There it
popped
is.
out of myself. I was like, cups. मैंने कहाँ सुना है cups?
You don't have to be girls for cups, you know.
I mean, what I saw in 9th grade told me differently.
What did you see?
Have you never seen 2 girls, 1 cup?
No.
Oh, she has no idea. अच्छा ठीक है, फिर joke बनता है, फिर समझ में आती है बात.
Okay, what do you think?
I don't want to say now.
उसको लगा feminist rant है.
अब उसके लिए एक लड़की होने की क्या जरूरत है? यहाँ पे बहुत
अच्छा,
सीख
is
रही हूँ।
there another technique I can play with? Because right now I've just been like fooling around.
I know. I want you to do what you want to do.
Okay. तो तू इसमें पढ़ी कैसे? How did you get into this stuff? Like, so you're good at art and you're doing an interior design job. This is a very specific kind of art to be in. I've never heard of this before. This is probably more philosophical than artistic in some ways, right? How did you get into this?
Yeah, but it's also like how you're looking at it, no?
Right.
Thankfully, you're looking at it like that.
Right.
Because otherwise, this would have been a very different.
अबे इतना easy है, काहे का पैसा दे रखा है इसको?
See? No, but I want that so that I can, you know, at least tell people that this is. It's easy. तो problem क्या है?
Nice, nice, nice. कि कभी-कभी कुछ चीजें easy हो सकती हैं, bro.
तो exactly.
Right.
तो उसमें तकलीफ क्या है?
What is the problem, right?
तुम कर लो.
Is there a lot of the feedback you get on socials?
Of course. Socials what? So ठीक है, let me start from your question. करी थी इंटीरियर डिजाइनिंग 2 साल जॉब करा खुद के projects भी आ गए. So I was like, okay, chalo, everything is going great. Left my job, started doing this. Then I was like, masters to jana hai, of course. But interior design, my friends were like, don't do it, it's not worth it. So I was like, okay, then, but I still do want to explore, I want to go out, want some exposure. So I was like, let me come to New York. There's this art school here. Now, it's not a degree course, which is a great step for me. Nothing, I don't like definition of anything, right? कि इतना टाइम तो तुमको पढ़ना ही पड़ेगा तो तुमको डिग्री मिलेगी तो तुमको ये I just hate that process. So I did random courses. I learned portrait, I learned live nude art, which again all this is not happening in India. I learned color pigments, just one class about color pigments. I asked my professor, and these professors are like permanent works in MoMA and stuff like that, because you can't teach art. Like today I didn't teach you. It's your perception of what I did, and you did your own thing.
Right.
So that's exactly what they would also teach in where Cloud is also going. I'd be like, this is to pura ek red color hai. इसके इतने पैसे क्यों?
Right. That is the general thought people have when they look at art.
Even I had that thought. I was
Right.
like, इसमें है क्या? मतलब ये तो पूरा दीवार जितना canvas है, and then इसकी like million dollars and stuff. Why? Then the way she explained everything to me, she broke everything down, my professor, and then she said, it's got nothing to do with. Fine, one thing है तो कि चलो pretty है, everything. Look at the story behind it. It's about the artist. It's got nothing to do with the art. What struggle has that artist gone through? Why has he created this? It was about like, it was just a red painting with like texture and everything, but pretty much red with one. I remember it was in MoMA. It had like a one line of
White.
in
In the middle.
like in off center. ठीक है? The story was about like, it was about a war where there was so much bloodshed, which was so unnecessary, because then after that there was like a full length based story and how this artist was there at the time and like stuff like that or whatever, and then they had created. I was like, oh okay, ऐसे तो मैंने देखा ही नहीं कभी.
Right.
So today, if I'm creating something, I have made so many failed pieces. वो तो कोई नहीं देखता.
Right.
So then I was like, actually this makes sense. So if I'm charging something for this piece, there are so many pieces that
Did not make it.
did not make it, or even for me, like I was not satisfied with it, and I was chucking it because I've been painting for 5 years now. तो वो तो कोई देखता नहीं. And your first question is, why is it so expensive?
Right.
You barely spent like
20 minutes or
to
40
do it,
minutes
yeah.
or 1 hour.
So
right.
why?
Right.
The way you look at it is going to be very different from, obviously everybody will have a different perspective to it, but that's the perspective that matters. It's got nothing to do with this.
Right. I think it's a mindset issue with Indians also, because Indians, like, I think people born around our age and after us do not necessarily understand just how poor India was and where the economic mindset comes from, and the idea that something has to be tough to actually be worthy of a certain price. It gets very inverted when you start rising up the financial chain. Like, people at the top, they're busy and they have a lot of responsibility, but you'd find that maybe somebody further downstream from them in the same organization per hour is lending more hours, is doing more work. Money, or for that matter worth, comes a lot from accumulated wisdom, comes a lot from accumulated craft.
Correct.
Things that seem easy in the moment as a fly. There is a story about somebody who's like, who comes to a place, koi machine kaam nahi kar rahi, and the guy is like, how do I fix this? So he looks at the machine, draws an X.
Okay.
And so he's like, how much do I pay? He's like, $10,000. He's like, what, $10,000 for making an X? He's like, no, $1 for making the X, the other $9.99 for knowing where to put
Where
the
to
X.
put, yeah.
And this is an idea that sort of changed for me when I listened to, have you heard of Naval?
No.
An entrepreneur that lives out here, first generation Indian that grew up here. And he had this grand rant about how to get rich without being lucky.
Okay.
And he speaks about that, he's like, एक होता है rich होना, एक होता है wealthy होना.
हाँ जी.
If you want to get wealthy, you need to own equity.
Yes.
And for artists, the equity is craft,
Correct.
right? Like the history that you put into going with this kind of stuff, the story that comes from this kind of
Exactly.
stuff, right?
I I think we've lost Prakhar.
You know how hard that is? You've accomplished something if you lost me.
There's so many meanings to this.
Poetry.
Poetry में चले गए.
हाँ जी, poetry हो रही है. This is blue, right? Okay. I actually want to fuck around with...
Wait. Just need to... Wait, what?
हाँ, oh sorry.
Mix कर दो. और क्या मांगा था?
Red.
थोड़ा सा white है इसमें चाहिए तो. Red. Sorry, that was mine.
That's okay.
Red का stick कहाँ गया? Can you see red का stick or any stick? Look what's happened.
Yes, tell me.
Interesting.
What does this tell you about me?
I'm not going to interpret your painting. Mix करो किसके साथ, it'll be nice.
Huh. I
Wait.
think with more
wow,
white.
Look at this stick.
Yeah, that's very colorful at this point. Huh.
मतलब एक anything you put, mix it in one cup and then pour.
The colors of America. Tell me more about perfectionism. Because you said something when you were painting, no? You said perfectionism doesn't exist and so on.
Correct.
हाँ.
Perfection doesn't exist. So, पर हमको इतना सिखाया गया है. We've been taught to make it look pretty. You will not believe there are people coming to my workshop also. Moms, like, you know, who come with. They do it very subconsciously. I'm not blaming them, but it happens so naturally for them if they're coming with their kids. They will, you know, guide the kids how to do it. I was like, no, the kid knows what to do. They're the purest form. They're not overthinking. They're
Right.
not giving a shit about anything. They don't care if this painting doesn't turn out well. They don't care. You do. Don't teach them to. You know. And when you will not believe the paintings that kids do in comparison to what we would do, theirs will be better 100%.
मैंने ये चीज़ realize करी that when I was skiing, this may be 6-8 months ago, and I'd never skied before. ठीक है? So I start on the bunny slope. The bunny slope's barely a slope. It's a flattish plane, but you're doing it there, right? And you have the ski poles in your hands, and you're holding your like core tight, and you're trying to get through it.
Yeah.
Kids just go,
Yeah.
and they have like, मेरे को लगता है जैसे हम बड़े होते हैं ना, part of just growing up and letting people enter your head, letting things enter your head adds a level of fear that you do not have as a kid.
We just start becoming so cautious
Right.
about everything कि नहीं ये हो जाएगा नहीं like for me नहीं यार बहुत पैसे लग जाएंगे नहीं करना है you know क्योंकि again खुद के लग रहे हैं अब अब दर्द ज़्यादा होता है but like नहीं you know ये नहीं करना वो नहीं करना ऐसे but then I'm like एक second if I'm living it the whole point is to live it through right then I start correcting myself so that process of unlearning takes time and then you're teaching yourself something else you know who you truly are I feel like
अनलर्निंग वाली बात बहुत जबरदस्त है साक्षी वैसे
है ना
कहाँ से पढ़ा
खुद ने बनाया
मेरे ना जीजा जी ने बताई थी ये बात Alvin Toffler used to be a guy and my brother-in-law who is probably one of the few people in my family that can whip me several times in one conversation send me back for a few months to prepare and then come back because he's brilliant
I should be having a conversation with him
bro मेरे शो पे मेरी बेइज्जती no the thing with him is the thing with Jia ji is he's super well read and he was well read before phones came around And I've come to find the advent of phones, what we do not realize is, quite literally we've stolen time from us to actually borrow inspiration.
Yeah.
Which is what I want to ask you about also, inspiration, right? Because say for instance, मेरे को एक piece लिखना है, I want to write something, right? I want to think about, say 15th August is coming and I want to write about what does patriotism mean.
Yeah.
I will not go to the texts that talk about patriotism. I'll go around it. I'll talk about how do nation, or when I'm reading, how did nation states form, what was politics in the ancient times, la 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 la. And what that does is, it gives me peripheral inspiration.
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law used to say, he read this from Alvin Toffler, that life is a process of learning, unlearning, learning, unlearning, learning and unlearning. And I was like, that makes no sense. To my 17-year-old mind, I'm like, what? It's learning, learning more and then learning more. Like, what is the unlearning part? Like, what is the point of that? How different is New York from your experience of India, like Bombay particularly?
एक तो first of all, I really feel like life-wise, I feel like I like New York because I've always been in Bombay. So I like how fast everything is. I love that.
Acha.
I feel like I'm also that person. Find my peace in the chaos. But in terms of freedom-wise, where I don't have to go back home, this life is so much more difficult.
Right.
But I want to do this. Like I
Are you sure you don't want to use the word challenging?
मेरे को पकड़ लिया.
1-1. Right.
Yes, no, the word challenging is.
This is also like one of those things that I'd like, at least yaar Delhi mein bade hote hue na, you see this straight up. How different a woman's life is from a man's life in this particular regard when it comes to freedom, right? And I hear Bombay is easier, but once you step across the pond, in this case it is both the Atlantic and Europe and Africa and all of those things.
All the ponds possible.
Right? Hota ye, like bro, that freedom is staggering.
Yes.
I remember एक बार पता है मैं keto वीटो करता था. So when you're on keto, you're not consuming carbohydrates.
Yes.
What that means is your body is mostly, if you consume any alcohol, it goes straight into your bloodstream. Like you drink one drink and you're out like you had 5. And I had no concept. This is like first couple of months into keto. So me and my roommates back then, we were like, yeah, let's go party, this, that. And none of them used to drink. So I was like, bro, aaj sabko pilani hai. I get a bottle of wine, I pour it for everybody. And I'm the one most enthusiastic about drinking. By the time we are done drinking and we are at a bar, I have no memory. I just wake up at 5 a.m. in an alley. एक सड़क पे मैं उठता हूँ सुबह 5 बजे. This is early on when I was here. And I have a bare minimum recollection of that night. All my other friends went back home somehow. They never thought Prakhar will need help in any case. मैं 5 बजे उठ रहा हूँ, मैं कह रहा हूँ ये कौन सी गली है, मेरे पास मेरा सामान क्यों, अभी तक चोरी क्यों नहीं हुई, न्यूयॉर्क में रहते हैं. And those are the kind of life experiences you're like, bruh, like freedom is great, but where is the discipline?
Yeah,
Like, where is the
exactly your
discipline?
point.
Right.
But these, now you have a story to tell.
Right.
I love the fact that these experiences happen and then you have a story to tell.
Right.
And this would have never happened back home. Back home you're safe, right? Back home you're always protected. You have to make sure you will get home at a particular hour, right? Not because I've been told to get back home. Yes, I have been told to get back home. But
10 बजे तक घर आ जाना. हाँ.
नहीं, but like एक sense of safety net है. क्या करोगे तुम? Who are you when there is no safety net?
Right.
That's what we are all chasing.
Right.
At least you.
Right. Right.
I want you to put a little more
Okay.
paint.
Okay.
Make like one more cup with whatever colors you want. Try. So usually मैं suggest करती हूँ कि don't go beyond like 3 colors. Play with the quantity.
Not with the colors.
Colors. Because वो खिचड़ी हो जाएगा फिर.
Yeah, I don't want to use any more colors beyond what we have. This is so interesting.
White you wanted, na?
Yeah, white.
Blue भी है इसमें if you want.
More colors?
No, we're good.
That's it?
Yeah.
Now just move it around.
Yes.
So,
You can choose to pour later also.
okay. And the purpose of moving this around is to cover the canvas, right?
No. See, I left some. Up to you. You can leave it as is also. But see how like every second, everything is changing. I know थोड़ा deep हो गया, but like, why not?
Yeah, right. No, I'm interested to see what comes out because, like, what is
And
happening
it's
in the
the
center?
unknown, right?
Right.
Tissue चाहिए?
हाँ.
वो, give him a tissue.
ले रहा हूँ, मैं ले लूँगा.
कोई नहीं आया, खून पसीने से बना है क्या? Value बढ़ जाएगी और क्या? Aw, see?
I love that, bro.
It's another aw. It's actually looking
Thank you,
not
bro.
bad. It's sick.
Thank you. ऐसे ही रहने दो चश्मे को पूरे शूट में. कान ढूंढने में दिक्कत हो रही है भाई को. काफी रैपिडली और काफी ज्यादा चेंज हो जाता है ये हिलाने के बाद इसको. Because the colors move entirely across the canvas.
Yeah. एक second.
फिंगर से वो कर दूं ना अगर if I have to fill the edges out.
There are no rules.
Right.
पूरा नहीं.
अच्छा.
Only like just so that it moves faster.
Okay.
हाँ. Spill it. It'll...
Am I too impatient for this?
Do you want to cover the whole thing? First question.
I think so, yes.
Okay. So just patiently wait. See, it's pouring out.
Oh shit, it looks great.
And then keep turning while it's pouring.
Oh shit.
From the sides also.
Oh shit.
And you can mess with it afterwards as well if you feel like any part that you want to change.
What do you do with all the excess paint that drops?
I create another painting with it.
You just take this and make one more?
No, or you could just like take another canvas.
Oh,
That looks sick
fuck.
too. I can show you.
Oh shit. See how?
I get this a lot कि यार Sakshi, how did you make it? How do? अब पूछ रहे हो तुम. 5 साल पहले किसी ने मुझे कुछ नहीं पूछा था. Right? They were all my own friends. You will not believe. I'm not going to name them. My own friends are like ये क्या है?
Name them.
ये क्या है?
Right.
Because obviously now they're my huge supporters. But like, we're like ये तो क्या है? ये तो कुछ भी कोई भी कर सकता है उसमें क्या है?
Right.
तो करो.
Right. With art ये एक particular phenomena है. Because जब मैं भी start कर रहा था अपना creator shit, the same people who were like अबे ये क्या करता है, now text me say bro, love your videos bro, and it's a process of status shredding. जब आप initially when you get into something you're passionate about, particularly artistic fields, what happens is पहली बार तुम्हारी औकात ambiguous नहीं है.
हाँ.
अब वो defined है इस चीज में. लोग इसको देखते हैं, अपना perception जोड़ते हैं, बोलते हैं तू कौन? Then this shit starts working in the world as a whole.
Then
they're
they
like,
will respect.
हाँ.
Then you gain respect, which is okay. I don't blame them completely. उनको भी उतना ही पता है ना जितना उन्होंने सीखा है, जितना उन्होंने देखा है. So obviously they are not able to look beyond that.
बिल्कुल.
So to my artist people, I'm just like, maybe you cannot see it right now, right? But do it. Like, okay, art में पैसा नहीं था. I swear to God, और अभी शायद भी अभी भी कम ही है, ठीक है? Which is why art cannot be a career option, right?
Not even now in India.
Okay, now I feel like people have been giving it a chance, youngsters.
Right.
But वो generation को तुम change
नहीं कर सकते, नहीं कर
मतलब
सकते.
वो कर भी सकते हो पर मुश्किल बहुत है. Just to make them understand that we can reach places even with things you may have never seen happen before.
Right.
You know, why not?
Right.
ऐसा कुछ नहीं है जो नहीं काम होता. Like, you know, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है that cannot bring you money.
तुम काम में फोड़ू बनो, the money will follow. वही जो 3 dates वाली बात ना.
वही success.
हाँ.
क्या है?
Chase success, chase excellence, not success.
Not
right.
success.
Yeah, yeah.
Success will follow. Yeah, in other terms, yes.
Right.
Right. मैं बात बताती हूँ. मैं न्यूयॉर्क से वापस आई थी. There was a music fest I was invited in. Because मैं randomly ऐसे करके खींच के post कर देती थी. तभी Instagram wasn't a thing. It had just started.
Instagram 2010 में start हो गया था.
यार
मतलब cool होने के मामले में।
कूल नहीं हुआ था तब तक।
ठीक। तब तक dating नहीं हो रही थी।
स्नैपचैट चल रहा था तब तक।
क्या स्नैप स्ट्रीक है बता दे। हाँ बेटे हाँ।
शर्म आ जाएगी मेरे को, इतनी कम है।
मैं तो I haven't opened my Snapchat. The only thing my Snapchat has is stored memories that I cannot show anyone. Ash has seen them. हाँ.
our eyes only.
For
Don't-
my
don't-
eyes only.
Don't defend it. We know what you see.
What the fuck? हाँ. फिर
क्या बोल रही थी मैं?
एक तो इतनी जल्दी भूलती है हाँ.
ठीक है तो मुझे एक म्यूजिक फेस्ट ने इनवाइट करा था, मैं वापस बॉम्बे गई. They were like, why don't you live paint for us? I was like, I've never done this before, I don't know. But so they were like, okay, then put up your stuff, like put up a stall sort of a thing. इतनी nervous थी मैं वो चीज़ के लिए because first time I'm actually like going to look at people if they want to buy, if they don't want to buy. And then एक तो पापा को मनाना है कि मेरे को ना स्टॉल खड़ा करना.
मैं समझ रहा हूँ, बिल्कुल समझ रहा हूँ ये वाले दर्द बेटा.
मतलब बट और मुझे like obviously ट्रेन पकड़ के then जैसलमेर and then we would have to like go.
ओ ये अल्सीसर वाला है क्या? म्यूजिक फेस्टिवल दिसंबर में जो होता है.
राजस्थान बोलते हैं इसको.
राजस्थान.
फेब में होता है.
अच्छा.
जो भी उन्होंने इंस्टाग्राम देखा होगा बोले कि दिस इज कूल स्टफ, ब्रिंग योर स्टफ, पुट इट अप, इफ इट सेल्स सेल्स.
Right.
अच्छा ठीक है चल कोशिश करते हैं. पापा वाज आल्सो लाइक ठीक है देख
Give it a
ले,
shot.
देख ले कितना जो भी कर सकती है. तो मैं ना थोड़ी एम्प्टी कैनवसेस आल्सो आई स्टैक्ड अप पेंट्स और सब कुछ ना. आई वाज लाइक चल कोशिश करते हैं. लाइव पेंट मन किया, कंफर्टेबल लगा तो मैं करूंगी. आई टोल्ड देम आई एम नॉट श्योर. तो आई टुक 9 कैनवसेस विद मी. पापा के हिसाब से मैंने 3 या 4 ही लिए थे. ठीक है क्योंकि पापा बोलते कुछ काम नहीं आएगा, इतना कैरी करके उठा के लेके जा रही है सब. पापा ने सब निकाल दिया था. ठीक है एंड आई एम अ वेरी वेरी पैम्पर्ड चाइल्ड. भैया को भैया डाल दे तो भैया ने पीछे से कैनवसेस डाल दिए थे. ठीक है खाली. ऐसा ओके ठीक है. 3 दिन का स्टॉल लगाया था हमने. एक पेंटिंग नहीं बेची है मैंने. एक पेंटिंग नहीं बेची है. बट लास्ट में माई फ्रेंड एंड आई वर देयर. वी वर लाइक वो अपना फोटोग्राफी का कर रहा था. आई वाज लाइक छोड़ यार इतना सब सामान वापस लेके जाएंगे, यहीं पेंट करना शुरू कर देते हैं. तो हम लोग मस्ती कर रहे हैं, टाइम पास कर रहे हैं. तो ऐसे 2 फॉरेनर पास बाय करे एंड दे आर लाइक व्हाट आर यू डूइंग. आई वाज लाइक आई एम मेकिंग माय आर्ट लाइक व्हाट आई हैव जस्ट मेड हियर. डू यू वांट टू बाय? ही सेड नो बट कैन यू टीच मी हाउ टू डू इट. आई वाज लाइक या बट आई विल चार्ज यू फॉर इट.
तू वो मारवाड़ी है ना? मारवाड़ी दिमाग.
I was like,
Hacker man.
तू या पेंटिंग खरीद या तू ये खरीद, तू कुछ तो खरीद मुझसे. घर खाली हाथ नहीं जा सकती मैं. इतना जोश से आई हूँ मैं. एटलीस्ट मेरा खर्चा तो निकले. पापा के पैसे नहीं चाहिए मैं. तो देन because those people were doing it, then there were more people who were attracted. Then I was like, oh, what are they doing? We also want to do it. We also want to do it. Then I was like, wait. That's the idea that then came that one second. It's more fun to experience it the way I'm experiencing it. That's where the idea came, where I was like, it's got nothing to do with the result. It's what you put into it. It's what you're experiencing while you're making it, right? तो workshop का idea वहाँ से आया. I was like, business module.
Right.
But yeah, that was like
मैं पता क्या सोच रहा था जब तूने मेरे को बताया भी था ना that there is more of a getting people to do this, a more hands-on approach with this art than as much as sell it and apply it somewhere. The thing is, and I don't remember where I read it, this was something to do with the Renaissance that happened in Europe back in the day. And there was commentary around how societies evolve.
Yeah.
So सबसे पहले ना society will do very basic manufacturing, science and technology stuff. Then they will learn services and selling on top and they will become commercial societies. And once those two things are satisfied is when they approach art. Is when they begin to ओ मैं कौन हूँ एंड लाइक मैं कैसा मेरा एक्सपीरियंस है और मैं क्या व्हाट एम आई डूइंग एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. एंड आई फील लाइक विद इंडिया बिकॉज इंडिया ओनली स्टार्टेड गेटिंग रिच इन द 90s. आई वाज लिसनिंग टू Montague Singh Ahluwalia. Have you heard of that name before, guys? Montague Singh Ahluwalia was Manmohan Singh's right hand man when Manmohan Singh came in with the LPG policy, the liberalization policies in the 90s. And when Manmohan Singh got that is when India got rich, 91 mein, right? 91 we were dead poor, we had nothing. Our foreign currency reserves were running out to the point we did not even have food to buy if we had to import shit. And Manmohan comes, he says, open the gates, let's trade with the world, and that's how India got rich. India has been rich roughly for 30 years. So, for us to expect India to understand And here is another thing Montek Singh Ahluwalia, in fact Manmohan Singh said, we live in a country where only 10% of the population lives in the 21st century, the rest lives in the 19th or the 20th century. So until our society is at a place where stomachs are filled, this artistic self-exploration is always going to be sort of fringy.
Yes.
And I think therefore you've done pretty well in saying, chal experience to kar. खरीद मत खरीद रख मत रख तू उसमें ढूंढता रहे जो ढूंढना है, but at least find yourself in the process of doing it.
Also, at least be open to it. मत कर. तेको नहीं करना है मत कर. You can't afford it. It's fine. Absolutely fine. That's fine. But try to find, like, be a little open-minded about it. Be a little more, oh, अच्छा, ठीक है. There's no need to diss it, right? Just because you don't understand it.
Right.
Try to understand.
काफी लोग डिस करते हैं क्या?
हाँ यार मुझे मिलता है.
ऑनलाइन लोगों को हेट का सीन थोड़ा रहता ही है.
छुप के कर रहे हैं हेट. आओ जरा. But no, I feel like the whole perspective, it's got nothing to do with just this, right? Not fluid art. This becomes very extreme for me to expect each and everybody to understand it.
Right.
For everybody, like you just said, which is a great point, where stomachs are not full yet. How are they going to look ahead of it? Luxury, ये luxury हो गया. Art is always called as luxury, but never been explored as a experience, which is what now I think.
You are facilitating in a way.
Yes. See how the white and blue is coming out?
Yes.
Do you want to add something else?
No, I think the white and blue is fine. Although here maybe these colors are better, but I don't know.
So what you can do is, remember how I had made like circles? What I want you to do is either you just fill up, go back and forth with this. See how you like it. Or we can change, we can add like a little bit of orange to it also, अगर तेरे को चाहिए तो. Yeah. And then try to spell it out. Yeah. Take it back in.
I feel pretty done with this.
Yeah, okay. Then
Yeah, I feel like fuck.
Just tap here. मतलब वो white part है.
अच्छा यहाँ
Finish है.
side में.
हाँ.
हाँ.
बस. ये रह गया है. रहने देना है तो रहने दे सकते हो. Or not.
मेरी आर्ट कॉपी पूरी कंप्लीट है. Sorry. Realize मत करो.
You're done. थोड़ा मैं ब्लू डालना ही है तुमको.
इसकी NFT बनवा दो.
बना दो.
है ना?
Spill it out.
Oh shit.
Done.
So interesting. So every
Now,
time.
अगर तूने सोचा होता स्टार्ट करने से पहले,
हाँ.
हो पाता ये तुझसे?
सोच के भी नहीं हो पाता.
अब अगर तुझे वापस ये करना होगा, कर पाएगा?
नहीं. सेम चीज नहीं कर पाऊंगा.
बस.
हाँ.
The uniqueness of this is always going to be this. This is always going to be you, your brain, your thoughts while you were doing this. It's yours.
Brilliant. Now we let this dude even look at this shit. Wait, bring the camera over. Look at this stuff. कि किस तरीके से bubbles, like how has this happened? So interesting.
You can't do this with a brush.
No, you cannot
can't
do this with a brush.
Like
The way these colors, like this shit you cannot do with a brush at all. This is like life taking its shape in a way कि आप motion कर रहे हो बस canvas के साथ and it's becoming what it is. Wow. Shit. Parental scene कैसा है इसके साथ? Like my parents are, at least on my father's side, things were a little more conservative growing up. When I first started to do YouTube, in fact, my dad's eternal worry, and I've had live account of this. I've had live account because people my father would speak to would tell me about it. So very often my father would speak to his junior counsels, and his junior counsels were either my brother's friends or my friends, and they would be like, "Sir, ऐसी बात कर रहे थे." Not regularly, but जब भी मेरी उनसे बात होती थी. So I knew for a very long time my father was worried about my career choices.
correct.
Even when I started doing, first I came to America, which was like, क्या कर रहे हो? Then I started doing YouTube, it was like, क्या कर रहे हो? Only now, after everything's passed, is my father super proud. And oh my God, is he a supportive man? Like it is almost like जो seed होता है ना वो पेड़ बन गया है.
हाँ जी.
And the nature of it has changed. Like I speak to my father, it's a different man as far as my work is concerned. My mom, she grew up in Bombay. in the 70s, very progressive, like do what you want kind of thing. So my mom never had pressures going in. Papa ke saath thode bahut the. And so I understand how conservative families, Indian families can get around stuff that is so experimental. तेरे को बेटा क्लास दी है कभी?
Thankfully, एक तो but you're a guy, no?
No, I'm not sure about that yet. Since I've come to New York,
He
we
said
have
it
still
on
not done-
camera. He said this on camera. I did.
Guys, I just support pride.
That was
that's
not
not me.
rhetorical. That wasn't even like a question, but you answered. So
Yeah,
thank
like
you.
look, this is essentially the new colors of pride here.
But it's not. I feel like first of all, लड़कियों से इतना expectations है ही नहीं. एक तो ये problem.
ये एक बहुत real problem है.
I never thought this would come up, but एक ये problem है. Talking about my parents, thankfully very very supportive. ठीक है तू कर, तू जो करना है कर. Never been like pressured about क्या करना है, कैसे करना है, क्यों करना है, ये वो. Except शादी, but like
अब आया माल पकड़ में. अब बात करेंगे डेट कास्ट में हम. हाँ मैं ready हूँ.
बस तू शादी कर ले, बस तेरे को जो करना है तो कर.
शादी करने के बाद कौन कुछ भी करता है?
तो वो प्रॉब्लम है ना.
हाँ वही तो, यही तो प्रॉब्लम है ना.
बट नो लाइक फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मेरे से इतनी एक्सपेक्टेशंस थी नहीं. मेरा भी वो प्रॉब्लम है एक. क्यों नहीं है मुझसे एक्सपेक्टेशंस?
सही बात है.
होनी चाहिए
बिल्कुल.
कि तू भी पैसे कमा, तू भी खुद का कर. व्हाट इफ यू हैव टू सपोर्ट योर हस्बैंड?
I don't think.
आई एम जस्ट
Yeah, I don't think you are getting
But
into the
like-
guy you have to support at all.
व्हाट डू यू मीन?
Look, the statistics on this are very clear. Dating app statistics, by the way, if you're willing to sponsor us, dating apps. Sakshi keh rahi hai, mera bhi number. One sex in a heterosexual environment, one sex always dates upwards status-wise, and the other always downwards. Women date upwards on status, men date downwards on status.
Can this not change?
No. It's not to say. First of all, this is a statistical result. This is not an individual result. But what that predicts is probability of choice, not exactment of choice. ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर मैं सिमरन बोलूंगा तो सिमरन वही करेगी और साक्षी भी वही करेगी और प्रखर भी वही करेगा. Usually, this is how it works. तो वो तो मैं as a मजाक कह रहा था बात को. But go on, tell me if you had to
But
support your
हाँ,
husband.
like at least like just because I don't know if it's just because it is. I'm just trying to sugarcoat it. It is because I'm a girl and there are no expectations from me because I'm just going to get married
100%.
into a whatever dad finds rich family ये वो और बस फिर काम की क्या जरूरत है?
बिल्कुल.
काम करना ही क्यों है?
बिल्कुल.
यार क्यों नहीं?
हाँ.
You know, it's just it's hurtful and it's disappointing that
हमसे वो expectation भी नहीं है.
यार I was going यहाँ पे भी when I was here 2 months I was struggling and I was figuring it out. मम्मा पापा they both like just come home. Just come home. कोई जरूरत नहीं इतना ये सब करने की. क्यों करना है? You know, you're crying and then because there were like these issues happening and whatever here. Yeah, shouldn't. I
Like
know
you-
they're just
your
being
parents
parents,
should
but
be
like
like,
shouldn't be like
fight.
Fight it.
हाँ.
Fight it. Struggle kar. Figure it out, right? But nahi, come home. You know, of course they are parents and then they also feel like that.
बिल्कुल.
But I needed that. I needed that. Nahi, you know, we're here. We'll back you up. तू कर. तू ये कर. तू वो कर. हम हैं इधर. I want a lot. If parents are watching, please do this for your children. Do this. Yes, pamper them, of course. But like, do this more where you're pushing your children to excel more. I'm sure they're trying. They're doing their best. But like, especially ambitious people.
Right.
I feel like we become even more ambitious when we don't find it. Because
Right.
like, fuck you.
हाँ, अब तो
Fuck
करके
you, fuck you,
दिखाना
fuck
है.
you. अब तो उखाड़ के दिखाएंगे अब जो भी है.
बिल्कुल
Like,
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. नहीं मैं इस चीज से बहुत रिलेट करता हूँ. मेरे ख्याल से ना like what I would tell someone if this was a situation is tell your kid जा लड़के आ टूट के आ. जब टूट जाए वापस आ जियो. तब हम बैठे
हम
हैं.
हैं.
हाँ. पर
कोई-
तब
कोई
तक लड़
tension
जब
नहीं
तक जान है.
Exactly.
Right. And I think यार और मैं पेरेंट्स की मतलब मैं समझता हूँ. I've gotten more empathetic to it. I say this very often in my whatever public appearances too. The more I grow, the more when I think of parents, I think of my future than my past and my parents being my parents.
Yeah.
Right? And so I understand if I have a kid, like मेरे तो अलार्म बज रहे हैं भाई इसको बचा के रखना है.
Yes.
ये मेरी जान है ना?
Yes.
तो वो मैं चीज समझता हूँ लेकिन also about this women stuff. It's very rare that somebody brings this up in conversation, at least on the internet, at least as far as I've seen. this was my experience growing up. Because I did not understand the dichotomy of a male experience and female experience until I'd grown up a lot. And then, since my mom is my best friend, I'd speak to her a lot and she would tell me about this stuff. Where the expectation from the woman in India, and it's not like koi usme koi criminality hai, the expectation from the woman in Indian context is काम करके क्या करना है, तुम्हें घर ही संभालना है. और हो सकता है किसी को घर संभालना है, ब्रिलियंट बात है, बट फ्रीडम ऑफ चॉइस और फ्रीडम ऑफ चॉइस के साथ encouragement in whatever direction they are sort of picking could mean the world to that child.
Yeah.
Like it did for my mom. My mom, because her parents were like, जो करना है करो. आज she has more respect in society than so many people I know that probably got whatever else in their life, right?
Yeah.
अब वो जज है बकायदा. So that's a life changing thing. और उनके लिए नहीं, हम बच्चों के लिए. हम अपनी माँ को देखते हैं, बोलते हैं कमाल है नाना जी, बहुत बढ़िया काम किया आपने. Like
yeah, see, then you're appreciating how she was supported.
Right.
Supported, yeah.
और फिर because of that, my mom could support so many of the women, like my cousins and so on and so forth, in finding a dream, planning it out, and going about doing it. And I think that gets rare for women often in India.
It does. But I mean, hopefully things are changing.
और ironical बात ये पढ़ाई में से बढ़िया होती हैं. Like generally, if you also, I think the results say that that women are generally better at academics,
Smarter.
yeah, or at least more organized.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm telling you this as a matter of fact. This conversation, Ash and I have been discussing it for days, went in a completely novel direction. And I think this is one of my fondest, my first and my closest experience in talking to somebody so deeply artistic. Because my mind is very intellectual, it's very verbal. When I think, I'm thinking in words, sentences.
This is what I think he had told me right before you came, and that it's going to be interesting because you're very intellectual
Very
in
intellectual,
that way.
right.
I feel like I come from there, but I put it here.
No, you have a, and that was surprising in the first few minutes is that you have a very solid, like your feet are grounded in the philosophical world in some way. And then you think so interestingly, मेरे को तो समझ ही नहीं आ रहा, why are my words short today? Like I cannot string together a proper sentence that sort of compresses this experience into something. So thank you so much, dude. This has been an actual pleasure, knowing you like this. Respect.
Thank you.
Right?